and welcome to Card Subject to Change, the very first episode. My name is Mark. I'm here with my co-host Ray. Ray, how you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm excited to get this going.
I'm pretty excited about this.
Man.
Please bear with us. It's our first episode. We're doing everything we can to make this excellent, but no guarantees because, as always, Card Subject to Change. So, first, let's go straight into the news. James, play the news bumper.
Squeezed us.
All right, this week we got a lot of news. We're going to try and fit it all in. First, the brand split. The draft is official, and it's going to happen in July. We're going to have Raw. SmackDown's going live on Tuesdays at 8 o'clock on the USA Network. A lot of possibilities. I mean, what do you think, Ray?
I really do think this opens up a lot of possibilities for a lot of guys who really haven't been given a good spot right now.
Absolutely. It's extra TV time.
Yeah, it's a lot of extra. I mean, it's extra TV time. It's a lot of certain guys, especially certain wrestlers on the other brands that aren't really getting the push that they truly deserve.
What wrestlers might these be?
I don't know.
There's a lot of tag teams. I'm also very curious about what they're going to do about the titles. Are they going to do 2 heavyweight titles? Are they going to do a singular with the champion floating back and forth?
I really do think they're going to go back to the double heavyweight title deal again. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of it, but I mean, it kind of separates the two brands and it makes it more definitive as separate entities. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense. But I'm really excited about possibly having one like Brock Lesnar. He was almost like the grand champion of the promotion. Having one champion that kind of floats back and forth, not necessarily on TV every week. He can be showcased one way or another, but save it for the pay-per-view, save it for the live specials, instead of having the guy wrestle in non-title matches week after week after week, eventually going under to some people just to set up #1 contender matches to go to the pay-per-view. Yeah. That never made a lot of sense to me. Save those guys, make them special for the pay-per-views or the network live events, and just not showcase them every week and have one champion that kind of floats back and forth.
See, I like the idea of having 2 champions. I mean, you have the possibility of booking these 2 champions against each other, which kind of like adds to the epicness of these main events. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but look what we got last time around. We got Jack Swagger as a world heavyweight champion.
Well, that's
nothing against the guy,
different story.
But it was very early, and maybe at this point it'd be a little bit more appropriate. But at the time, he wasn't ready for that, and it kind of pulled everything down a little bit. I don't know. I can't see Jack Swagger as a guy in the front of the program, but maybe that's just me.
Well, hopefully, I mean, they'll actually give the title to someone a little bit more with a little bit more face recognition, as far as someone you actually want to see. I mean, with all the talent that they have right now, guys like
what's it? The guy with the hair, the guy with the beard,
the guy with the beard,
the guy with the eyebrows,
the guy with the 6-pack and the beard and the long hair. He's very good.
Well, here's how I see it playing out. I see top baby faces, John Cena and Roman Reigns, obviously, even though Dean Ambrose is the champion at the moment. And then we have AJ Styles and Seth Rollins as the top heels, probably split respectively.
Yeah.
Put John Cena and AJ Styles maybe on SmackDown, and then you have Roman Reigns and I can't even remember who I just said. Roman Reigns and
AJ Styles?
No.
Is that what you just said? That's all right. Don't worry about it.
What?
Don't worry about it.
So, I mean, you can split the brand up, have some top baby faces on one brand, top heels on the other, split it out evenly. It's nice and even, and it gives good storyline opportunities for both sides.
Now, speaking of Roman Reigns, let's go into the...
let's go right into the big news of this week. The golden boy of the WWE, Roman Reigns, had his first wellness violation. And for those of you who don't know, a wellness violation is either steroids or recreational drugs or painkillers used while under contract. Your first violation is a 30-day suspension. Your second is 60. Your third is you're out of there. Can you imagine?
That's a whole lot of information. Go over that one more time, please.
Oh, that's 30, 60, and termination. But can you imagine a world where Roman Reigns has 3 violations and gets booted?
I don't think that'll ever happen. He'll always be cushioned from the blow. I really do feel as though they're going to push him to the moon, and they have absolutely no other intentions for Roman Reigns.
I mean, well, here's the thing. They supposedly, wrestling news sources, which they're not always right, but wrestling news sources are saying that they knew about the violation going into the pay-per-view, which is why they had the quick switch and then the Money in the Bank cash-in to put it back on a babyface. And then they set up the match for the next pay-per-view, which is 5 weeks after the violation. So technically, he's off of TV for a month, but he can still participate in the pay-per-view and still be in the main event in a triple threat match with a reunion of the Shield. So he had a wellness violation, yet still in the main event of the next pay-per-view, and they gave him the appropriate amount of time to set all that up.
Drugs are not okay for everyone else, but they're okay for Roman Reigns.
Apparently.
Roman Reigns can do whatever he wants.
Well, I mean, I think we all saw that coming. We all assumed that this situation would happen if something ever happened with Roman Reigns, because they don't have a lot of other options at the moment.
But I think they do have a lot of other options. That's the only thing. They have so many talented guys that can work.
Top baby faces of the company. Who could be pushed up to the top?
Let's see. Honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing AJ doing something more than just beating Cena up.
I think he's doing great at what he's doing now because AJ Styles as a babyface just came out very bland and very pre-written.
As a babyface.
As a babyface.
Yeah.
But okay, say we take Roman Reigns out of the equation. Who's going to step up to that spot? Dean Ambrose somewhat did and is looking very good so far and has a lot of people behind him, which is great.
That's only like one Raw so far, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been one night so far.
All right.
So far, so good. Hopefully there's no wellness violations. Then we do another Twitch switch. But, I mean, who else? Who else would you have in mind for something like that?
Let's see. I don't know. Name some guys for me.
Okay, we're going to do the rundown. Big E Langston.
Absolutely not.
Jack Swagger.
No, come on, you keep bringing this Swagger thing up, man.
I want Jack Swagger to happen, and I want it to happen right. Let's see. Who else did they bring up from NXT, maybe? I mean, obviously, Shinsuke Nakamura is a huge babyface in NXT right now.
Oh, Shinsuke. Oh, my God. He would kill it anywhere.
Absolutely.
Bring him up to SmackDown, bring him up to Raw. It doesn't matter. He would just kill it.
Absolutely.
I absolutely believe that.
Do you think the language barrier is going to be... I mean, he does speak English, but only to a certain extent. Do you think
it hasn't been an issue yet? I mean,
it hasn't. He is connected with that crowd, but it's that Orlando, very driven, die-hard crowd. Is that going to translate to going on the road?
They do have a very almost like indie, like 2000 Ring of Honor feel as far as the NXT crowd.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of character that they really enjoy.
But I feel like a lot of people could get over in that Ring of Honor indie experience, but not translate over to TV so well. Look at guys like The Ascension, who were mega over in NXT. As soon as they got to TV, they tried to give them that same exact push with the same formula, and it just didn't work.
But Shinsuke also has an incredible amount of charisma. Yeah, this is something
So what are you saying about The Ascension?
You can't teach. I don't know.
You're not wrong. So, I mean, there's a lot of possibilities. And as far as, there's another thing for the brand split. What do they do about other titles? What do they do about the women's title? Do they have 2 women's titles? Do they have 2 tag team titles? Obviously, they have the U.S. title and the Intercontinental title, which those could be split evenly.
Yeah.
In my perfect world, they would keep the women's title on, say, Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
SmackDown, they do the Cruiserweight title. They did the Cruiserweight Classic, the international tournament. Whoever gets that, Cruiserweight champion, pull them right over to SmackDown, build a division there with guys from NXT and some of the better light heavyweight guys like Tyson Kidd and Adrian Neville.
That is a great idea. I do like that a lot.
But then what do they do with the tag titles? Last time we had 2.
I really just think...
And we had the Bashams.
The Bashams. I really do think completely splitting it down the middle is a good idea. As far as the Cruiserweight title belt, that has to go to one brand or the other.
What about the women's?
I think they should have 2 different women's titles as well.
Well,
there's enough. There's definitely enough, especially with all the women in the NXT division or NXT locker room. It's just they can do almost anything. So they could bring them in half to Raw, half to SmackDown, even working with the girls they have now, possibly making their matches better. Absolutely.
It's a strong division. It's been building up, and I think there's been kind of obviously there was the Divas Revolution that happened, and then I think the tag teams are really getting picked up with tags like the Vaudevillains, Enzo and Cass, the Dudley Boys returning. All those have kind of elevated the division. Maybe the Cruiserweights are kind of the next step of that.
Oh, I'm completely for that. I'm excited. I really am excited.
Well, talking about people coming back is our main discussion topic for later in the show, but Money in the Bank. Let's talk about that before we run out of time. I'm getting told in my ear we're running out of time. So, Money in the Bank, overall thoughts and feelings.
In 3 minutes.
Less than 3 minutes.
Oh.
What were your thoughts and feelings about Money in the Bank as a pay-per-view overall? As somebody who doesn't watch a lot of live specials, but I made watch it just for the show.
You did make me
How did you
watch
feel?
I enjoyed it. It was actually good.
You didn't really high-pitched.
It made me enjoy WWE again, actually. I think actually watching that pay-per-view, I was like, oh, wow, this is actually good.
Here's the thing. I meet people every day that say, you know what, the Attitude Era was great. It was so good. And then I just stopped watching because it wasn't very good. And they did have a down period, and that's fine. Yeah. But I feel like it's somewhat coming back again. Maybe not to that level, but it's getting close. It's gaining steam. That'd be like somebody watching like Game of Thrones and saying, well, the second season wasn't very good, so I just stopped watching it for the rest of the run. No, people would freak out at you for that. it's the same thing in my head. Stick with it, come back, check it out. I think it's going great. I mean, the opening tag match, the 4-way, was really good. It was a little clustered. Yeah. It was a little clustered, but
that's with any eight man tag match. I mean, that's a lot.
Corbin and Ziggler was okay.
I liked. I mean,
Rusev and Titus.
Ziggler did what he could do.
Yeah.
Corbin.
We have 1 minute, so we're running out of time. But basically, the ladder match I thought was phenomenal. One of my favorite Money in the Bank ladder matches.
Yeah, it was
and then go right into the main event with Ambrose cashing in, winning the belt in a very feel-good moment. And then the double switch, I think, was great. So overall, I thought it was a really good pay-per-view. I was really happy. And it's one of those pay-per-views you can show people, and I think they could start appreciating wrestling a little bit more again. So overall, I give it 4 stars, even though we don't have a rating system.
We're not going out of 10.
No, we're not.
Assume.
No.
All right. So
4 to 5 stars. 4.28 out of 5 stars.
All right. I give it 8 out of 10.
Perfect. We have 2 different systems.
We're cohesive.
Let's go to break, guys. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching.
Ever need a doctor after hours? Well, searching won't help. But what do? You could go to the urgent care or ER, but if only there was a better way. Introducing the MNO Plus Card. No waiting rooms, no copay, no consultation fee, giving you 24/7 access to a doctor by phone or online. It's easy to get started with affordable plans starting at $15 a month for a family of 5. For more information, visit mnoplus.com today.
Everyone's story is different, so why be limited to just 1 or 2 options? With Norcom's Norflex Home Loan, you're given the flexibility to tell your story. Pick your terms from 8 to 30 years, all while maintaining a low, fixed mortgage rate. You can pay off your loan more quickly or choose a term based on your budget and timeline. Whatever you do with the Norflex Home Loan, make it part of your financial plan. Norflex. Short-term, long-term, your terms. Apply online at norcommortgage.com.
Enjoy tranquil seclusion in an eco-lover's paradise. Paddling through the mangroves where the only sounds you'll hear are the sounds of nature. Because you deserve to relax on vacation, visit Pasco County, Florida.
Welcome back to Card Subject to Change, and we are joined by our guest, Drew Donovan. He looks very impressed to be here.
Pretty big deal. Pretty big deal.
So what are we going to go to next, Ray?
Oh, I'm so excited to tell you guys about this. All right, up next, we have a little video segment we put together a few days ago.
Yeah, we
brainstormed a little bit and was like, hey,
what do people
I got an idea. What do people like? Clowns and red security guards.
And Golden Corral. So James, let's go to the clip.
That's what I'm talking about. Down! In the streets, how we do it, baby? I'll stop him. Actually, go stop. Actually, you got it if you get up there and stop him. No! Come on, let's go. Come on. Come on, let's get it back in. Hey! They feel really good, man. Joe! What's up? What's up, baby? We're going back to school, baby. What the hell we doing there? That's for Pam. 1, 2, 2. I had it. 2. I don't think I've seen you like kind of pussy before. I'm gonna give me some bush. Oh my God, look at that joy. Bow! 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 What's up, baby? My friend! One, two, go, man. I had it. You want to get on me for the wall? No, let's go back up the street. Back up the street, hey, hey. Grab you around your head.
On the stick.
You going in that car right there? No. Yeah. Move, come on. Come on. Hey! Go! Come on! Go! Get out! Back up! Stay back! Get out of the way! Out of the way! Out of the way! Come on! Hey, I can spell, mate! Still don't feel good. Still don't feel good.
Wow.
Well, that was something, wasn't it? It was. I hope you found that as entertaining as we did.
That's pro wrestling.
And we are joined again by Drew Donovan, Paragon Pro Wrestling superstar extraordinaire. What did you think of our fantastic Slamorama clip?
I'm a little upset that it cut out. I was looking forward to seeing if Red Boss Man Heidenreich could beat Fat Doink.
Oh my God.
There is going to be a part 2, though.
It's good to know
Absolutely.
that Big John's getting some work these days, though. A little out of shape, but...
So, Mr. Drew Donovan, you've been known to be a professional wrestler, haven't you?
I've been known in some circles to wrestle for goods and services.
Goods and services?
Yes, mostly goods.
So, okay, let's ask you the regular TV show podcast questions. How'd you get your start in the professional wrestling business?
Yeah, what inspired you?
We're going creative and off the wall with this one.
Oh, I got like the 5 questions you asked for every interview. Oh, it's blank. Anyways, so
What's that? You know the 5 questions.
I know the
he's
5
got 'em-
questions.
he's got 'em
Okay,
memorized.
then let's go real far. What is your first memory of professional wrestling? What is your first?
First memory of professional wrestling. That's awesome because we didn't talk about any of this. So my first memory of professional wrestling was actually a Ric Flair promo. Like, and it's not like I'm not going to hit you with this stuff where I'm like, I saw Ric Flair and I saw his passion and I wanted to be able to convey my emotions to the crowd. No, I saw Ric Flair. It was at my grandparents' house and I thought it was the president. I thought my grandfather was watching.
We could only wish.
I thought it was some like C-SPAN like presidential address and it was some sort of like president or senator or something like that. And for like 10 years, I thought Ric Flair was some important politician until I, knew better.
He's not?
So, well, I mean, I just figured this out last year. So this
Oh
was when
my
I was
God.
16. So.
I do want a president that wears a robe just like that on television with the big
it's-
aviator sunglasses.
That's what we're
my main
missing.
confusion. But yeah, no, legitimately, I thought Ric Flair was the president of the United States when I was like 3 years old. So
Just that clip on YouTube is going to get us some hits right there.
perfect. I mean, he could have been. He could have been running for some sort of something. I mean, for God's sake, Lobster Man ran for president once, so it happens.
Absolutely. Well, what was the first wrestling match you saw? Because obviously that was the first promo you've ever seen. What was the first wrestling match?
That was the first time I saw it, and I don't remember the first wrestling match I saw. I mean, I could give you the generic answer. I can just give you the whole BS. I'm a worker. Like it was Andre and Hogan, or it was Macho and Savage.
You stole all my answers.
Macho and Savage.
Well, give us
that one? Macho and
the
Savage.
real
Yes.
answer and then give us a work answer.
So honestly, the work answer was I watched WrestleMania 1 start to finish, and I knew that one day I had to be in that ring, despite the fact that I was born the same month that it aired. But regardless,
As a very young man, you knew exactly what you wanted to do when you grew up.
watching wrestling wise, I always watched it really, just like I'm sure we all did, and I really got into it more when I was 6th, 7th grade or whatnot, when the Attitude Era was picking up. I mean, I hate to jump on the bandwagon, but I started really watching wrestling when everybody was really watching wrestling. I mean, it was topical. I mean, it was South Park and Monday Night Raw. It was what everybody was watching. I think the only difference between me and everybody else was I just never stopped. And I kind of got into that kind of mindset where it's like, I'm kind of an extremist with everything that I do. So when I was like, 13, 14 years old, I was just like, I'm going to do this. And then from that on out, that's what was going to happen. I was going to do it. So, I mean, if you want to get into the whole breaking in and everything like that, too.
Well, what did your parents think about the idea of you saying you wanted to be a professional wrestler when you grew up?
Absolutely. Hated it.
Did they doubt you? Were you like 8 years old? You're like, I'm going to be a professional wrestler, and they're like, no, you're not.
I think it was one of those things where I was so matter of fact. I'm like, I'm going to do this. And they're like, all right. And then like I kept saying it, and they're like, oh, all right. And then I kept saying it when I was like 18, 19, and they're like, oh, Jesus. So
He's really going to do this, isn't he?
So they actually supported you doing it?
Oh,
or-
God, no. God,
Oh, okay. Was it one of those things
No
you had
sane
to-
parent would.
Did you have to sneak out to do it, or?
No, it was just one of those things where it's like I kind of like for all intents and purposes left home when I was like 18, 19. So it was one of those situations where I was like, this is just what I'm going to do. So, I did the whole, I went and trained. Brutal Bob Evans had a school in Pawtucket, Rhode Island at the time. And I mean,
How did you find that school?
honestly, I was in college. I did a few semesters for exercise science up in New Hampshire. And while I was up there, all I was doing was I was trying to learn how to work out because all I knew was to be a wrestler, I had to be big. And I was looking for wrestling schools. And I knew Kowalski's was in the area, or what used to be Kowalski's. It was chaotic at the time. There are a couple schools. I mean, we're not in like the early days of the internet or anything like that. But it wasn't as viable an information hub as it is right now, I guess you could say, at least for dumb stuff like where do I go learn to wrestle. So I'm looking everywhere I can find. I find every school and I emailed every single one. And I knew I was going to make the right decision. I was going to put a lot of thought into it. I was going to make an educated decision where I was going to learn to wrestle. And that's not what happened. Bob's the only one that emailed me back, so I'm like, all right, gotta go give him my money.
So you didn't find the best. You found the only one that was willing
I
to
found
write
the
you
one
back.
that emailed me. I found the one that checked their inbox.
This guy talks to me. Okay.
Well, let's stop it right here. I'm going to cut you off because we're going to go to break. As we get back, more about Donovan and what happened after Brutal Bob wrote you back and you actually went to wrestling school.
Oh, it gets sketchy.
All right, we'll be right back for more Card Subject to Change with Donovan.
Ever need a doctor after hours? Well, searching won't help. But what do? You could go to the urgent care or ER, but if only there was a better way. Introducing the MNO Plus Card. No waiting rooms, no copay, no consultation fee, giving you 24/7 access to a doctor by phone or online. It's easy to get started with affordable plans starting at $15 a month for a family of 5. For more information, visit mnoplus.com today.
Everyone's story is different, so why be limited to just one or two options? With Norcom's Norflex Home Loan, you're given the flexibility to tell your story. Pick your terms from 8 to 30 years, all while maintaining a low, fixed mortgage rate. You can pay off your loan more quickly or choose a term based on your budget and timeline. Whatever you do with the Norflex Home Loan, make it part of your financial plan. Norflex. Short-term, long-term, your terms. Apply online at norcommortgage.com.
Enjoy tranquil seclusion in an eco-lover's paradise. Paddling through the mangroves where the only sounds you'll hear are the sounds of nature. Because you deserve to relax on vacation, visit Pasco County, Florida.
Welcome back to episode 1 of Card Subject to Change. We're here with our friend Donovan, who's telling us all about how we got started in the wrestling business, and we got all the way up to Brutal Bob emailing you back. So where do we go from here in Drew's story?
Well, like you said, we kind of left off at Bob Evans' amazing, business prowess to actually email somebody back when they shoot him an email wanting to give them money. So that was the right step by Bob. But
that guy's all business, man.
All business, all business. But no, in all seriousness, Bob wasn't really affiliated with Ring of Honor at the time. Ring of Honor was around, but it was still kind of like an upstart thing because we're going back to 2004, which makes me feel incredibly old. But Bob ran I hate to use cliche terms like Bob ran a strict camp because Bob
He ran a tight ship. That's a cliche you need to use.
I don't think tight ship's not an overdone cliche at all. He ran a tight ship. But no, I mean it was a good school. It wasn't like a camp thing where it was 3 months in and out. It was basically you sign up and Bob would basically tell you you're gonna have to come here for a while before you can get anywhere near remotely being anywhere near good. So it was basically, it was starting like any other wrestling school. You go and you learn the basics, and then you apply, and then you repeat, you repeat, you repeat, you repeat. And at the time, Bob was booking for a company, and then they ended up branching off, and he ended up starting his own company. And it's not like we were, selling out armories or anything like that, but we had work. So basically, I was lucky enough that only a few months in, my trainer had these connections to run shows where we would have shows, every other week at the very least, and we do loops and we repeat buildings. So we'd be seeing the same fans every other month or every month or so. And
which is really unheard of for indies to have like that territory where they can just swoop around and have that same crowd every time.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I'm not trying to overglorify it because it's not like I'm saying that they were sellouts. I mean, you know, some of the houses that we went to every month had 12 people. I mean,
but it was those same 12 people, and they knew who you were.
Yeah, it was. It was my same aunt and cousin and.
I was all so you got the biggest pop.
Oh, exactly.
Oh, okay.
No, my family doesn't go to shows. But, I wouldn't want them to. But regardless, I sound like the guy that hates his family. This is all like, this is
jeez, this got
is
dark.
Like, I hate my parents.
Bring his mom in.
He is a wrestler.
She's here.
Maury.
You are not the mother. Oh.
Yeah, boys, if you get somebody pregnant, wait a minute, now we get weird. We're going way off topic. But
okay, so you're wrestling in front of 12 people.
Right, 12 people.
But it's a circuit.
15 to 16. But regardless, you know, we had the opportunity to work. We had the opportunity to just try new things and to get better. And we'd always work with guys better than us because, you know, Bob had the right idea about stuff. It's like, say what you will about Bob Evans. Lots of people have different opinions of him. I would not be where I am today, for better or worse, but I would not be where I am today without Bob because Bob kind of put our heads on straight when we started. So. But without Bob, I would not know how to put together a match. Without Bob, I would not know to, you know, from the offset, to make sense with what I do, to tell a story. Now, it takes years and years and years to find out what tell a story actually means. It's not one of those things where, you know, you talk to a guy in the indies, how do you tell a story? It's like, work the arm, brother. And it's like, it's a little bit more complicated than that. But regardless, I mean, we were set in the right direction. So it was like, if you're going to call, you know, different stages of learning wrestling, different things, I would say, you know, with Bob, I got to go to the best high school possible. And then I got to go to an awesome college with NXT. So, and then I got to go to trade schools. I spent some time in OVW, which was awesome. So that was like going to a specialty school to learn in between, let's say, college and high school or whatnot.
Gotcha.
There was different steps along the way where you could learn different things.
How long were you at OVW for?
I spent about 6 months there. I took a semester off of college, and a couple of us went down, and basically a short-term lease. We got the opportunity. What actually happened was I called Rip Rogers. I looked up the OVW phone number, I think in a phone book, which is weird.
Ooh, you're dating yourself a little bit.
And I had to track down like a phone book to Kentucky somehow.
What is
I feel like they have a lot of phone books in Kentucky. I don't know.
Yeah, most likely, but it's a book that actually has numbers. There's no actual phones in the book.
Oh,
Which was odd.
see, you know what? You already have me lost.
Doesn't make any sense, man.
So, yeah,
What color is this book? No.
Basically, I got the address and via carrier pigeon got a hold of Rip Rogers and basically just told him, I said, hey, what's it like? What's the process to sign up? What do I have to do? And Rip gives us this little old school answer. He goes, well, I'll come down on Tuesday. And it's like Sunday. So I'm like, I'm in New England. And he's, well, Tuesday's the only day I'm available. So talked to a couple of my friends, and we were like, all right, well, what are you doing tomorrow? Do you want to drive to Kentucky? So we did.
All right.
So we showed up, and he goes, oh, you're here? And it's like, oh, yeah.
So is that like the weeding out process? Like, see who shows up?
Well, yeah, essentially. And from there, he was just like, God, just give me a couple bucks and, you know, come down and train whatever you want, because we just impressed him by showing up. So, you know, I took a semester off of school, and inevitably I ended up not going back, but, you know, stay in school. But we went down to OVW, and it was awesome. You just, you know, it was a much bigger class than what we were used to. At Bob's, we had maybe 6 to 10 people per night of training. In Rip's class, there was 40 to 50. It was insane. So
who was doing all the training at that time?
It was Rip.
Really?
And there were senior members of the class. I mean, just a couple guys, you know, a couple guys would come down from TV because OVW was still developmental at the time, and they would help out. So we'd have just this huge influx of information, which was cool. And I've never been shy about just, you know, picking people's brains and stuff like that, because my whole thing is like I always want to get better.
Yeah.
So it's just, you know, and I'm not saying that to put myself over, but my whole thing was I was never happy with my work. So what can I do to make my work better? Let me ask him. And at times I've been guilty of asking too many people, because if it's, you know, a subjective sport, you're trying to bring in too many opinions, you're going to drive yourself nuts. So I've been guilty of that 1,000 times. But OVW is a great source of information for that. So we did that for a little while, and what ended up happening was, you know, we were talking to the guys back home, and there was WWE was going through some transitional things, and I believe it was Tommy Dreamer stepped down as I think it was Assistant Director of Talent Relations or whatever. And Mike Bucci, Nova, Simon Dean, by whatever name you want to call him, ended up getting that position. And he had kind of made it known that he was going to be going around doing a lot of these camps and stuff in the Northeast, because he had to relocate to Connecticut, obviously, Stanford.
So was that a work or is it a real camp?
No, they were legitimate camps
Okay.
because Bucci was one of the first guys in a while that really wanted to scout the indies and find like young, hungry guys that wanted to actually earn a spot with
So they
WWE.
weren't the $500 cash only.
Oh,
Oh,
the
yeah.
$500 cash only, but I mean, it was one of those things where it depended what the
I'll
camp
tell a
was.
guy, I'll show a guy your tape kind of thing.
Yeah, it's,
$500, I'll show you how to get out of the ring a cool way.
Exactly.
And here you go.
But Bucci would do the camps. He'd have his price, obviously, because he's going to get paid for it. Or why not? Why the hell not?
Oh, yeah.
But the promoters would put their own swing on things. But luckily, the first Bucci camp that we went to, it was Bob's. So Bob obviously he took what Bucci was charging. I have no idea what it was, and just okay, here's what it is to split it amongst all the guys so we can get a look.
Oh, wow.
So there was a bunch of us there, and maybe 20 guys did the camp, and drills, matches, everything like that too. And a couple of us got kind of like singled out in a good way. And Mike was basically at the end of the first camp. He didn't really know us from anybody else, and he was like, "All right, well." You guys, you show promise in this regard. You have this, you have charisma, you have a look, you have this, blah, 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 blah. But basically, you all suck, every single one of you. And it was weird because, I mean, there were a lot of us there, and that was kind of like a little bit of a divide between the boys because it was the first time ever, because, at Bob's, Bob was such a good trainer that we were all kind of walking around like, pounding our chests. Not rightfully so, because, I mean, obviously there were lots of good schools there, but we're all walking around being like, yeah, this is New England, man. We're the workers here. And then this guy that's done more than all of us comes in and tells us we're all garbage. So, there's a divide in that most of the guys are kind of like, you get that defense mechanism. Oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the head of talent relations.
Yeah.
So there was like four
So
or
was
five
it
of us that
that
actually...
what led to your WWE first look for NXT? Is that kind of
It
what?
technically did, but I had to do a little bit of work first because it was one of those situations where, he told us that we were terrible. Like, he goes, you got some promise, which was cool, but everybody else kind of rebelled against it. Like, oh, no, we don't suck. He sucks.
Yeah.
Like, some of us had kind of the idea to
Yeah.
just,
This pride got in the
maybe
way.
we do suck, so maybe
Yeah.
we should work on this. So we literally, we emptied our bank accounts, and we started doing every, Bucci camp that came to New England until
Oh, wow.
eventually Mike realized this, and Mike was like, all right, come to every camp, but just you're coming with me. You're not paying to do these camps anymore.
That's awesome.
Oh, cool.
So it's, because again, we were like, Mike, how do I get better? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And he would give us stuff, and the difference between, I guess, us and a lot of the other people at the time is we would take that and we'd apply it.
And then show back up with those things applied to you.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So we did camps all over New England for him. We did camps for Bob. We did camps for Mike Sparta. We did camps.
Oh,
There's there's a name I want to talk about.
Yeah, let's talk about
Mike
Sparta.
Sparta. Tell us a little bit about Mike Sparta.
Mike Sparta. If you've been anywhere near New England, you've met Mike Sparta, or at least heard stories about him. And it's just, I mean, I can't do the man justice. It's just every cliched story that you've heard about a crazy wrestling promoter. This is Mike Sparta. So it's like I'll just. You're probably getting that. Like, I know that you know the samurai
I do.
sword.
Tell us the samurai sword
I
story.
have not
We
heard
only
about
have
it.
like 2 minutes, but try and fit in the samurai sword story.
Long story short on this one, all right? So we're doing this show, Mike Bucci Camp also. So we're at the Sparta show, and Rikishi is booked for the show also. It's a weekend type of a spot. Rikishi comes, he's hurt or something, like banged up his ankle, something like that. But Rikishi's still there, and he does the first spot, doesn't do a full match, but he does an appearance, does, the stink face or whatever. And, everybody's happy with it for the most part. It wasn't a full match, but everybody's happy
How
with
could
it.
you not be happy with the stink
So-
They
face?
just want to see Rikishi. They want to see him do his thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yay, great
Show
Rikishi.
the
dance.
stuff, yeah, exactly. So Sparta apparently took some took exception to that, I guess, and they got into it a little bit. Then there was something going on after the show, and then I don't know the specifics of it, so I'm not going to say. But they were getting in an argument, and basically Rikishi was not supposed to be on the second show. So we're at the second show, and apparently Rikishi shows up because Rikishi wants his money. And okay, rightfully said. I mean, you agreed to a payment, get your payment, and whatever it is. But still, let's leave it at the fact that, I mean, this is a disagreement for the two parties to settle in private, or it should be. Long story short, Rikishi's in the crowd. Mike Sparta decides that the best time to address Rikishi is during the show. There's a six-man inter-height match going on. It's a six-man match with two midgets. So I don't know exactly the
Inter-height a thing?
the proper way to intertwine
God.
midgets into a six-man. I think it was a six-man of varying heights, battle for respect. But halfway through the match, Mike Sparta comes out and cuts a promo riddled with F-bombs.
On his own show.
On the
with
show.
families and
with
people.
families and like a good show, packed.
It was at like a
house.
fair, wasn't it?
At a fair, and everybody is completely enamored. Mike Sparta cuts his promo telling everybody he's Mike Sparta, the promoter of the show, with many F-bombs intertwined in between, and just decides to tell everybody how Rikishi screwed him out of a bunch of money. This escalates to Mike actually throwing a wrench at Rikishi, which bounces off of Rikishi's chest, which leads to some sort of attempted gang war of Rikishi's party attempting to go over the barricade, with Sparta retreating back to the locker room to try and find his boys, I guess. So he's storming back going, I'm going to get my boys. I'm going to get my boys. I'm standing next to, and you guys know Jared, I'm standing next to Jared, and Jared goes, what's going on? I'm like, he's coming to get his boys. And Jared goes, I think we're his boys.
Oh, God.
I'm like, well, I'm not, no way. So
I don't want to fight Rikishi and his boys.
We scatter. I remember Mike just going, I was never here. And then he disappeared. Like, I saw his car whipping out of the parking lot. And we're all just, we don't know what's going on. And there's this kid there, his name was Zach Static. And Zach Static was doing a very odd but awesome Highlander gimmick with the sword and the legitimate samurai sword in the sheath and like the big coat and everything. Came out to the Highlander song. I marked out for it. It was awesome.
I'm marking out a bit now.
So Sparta sees this, and then he just reaches down and just unsheaths the sword. This legitimate.
I'm sure that looked majestic too.
Amazing. Like imagine just like
the pose.
Imagine a Caucasian Shrek wearing a very terrible like bowl cut like Three Stooges Mo wig.
Oh my God.
And then he's just swinging the sword around. I'm gonna cut him open. I'm gonna cut him open. And then he rolls up his shirt into a sports bra for no reason. And he's doing trunk rotations to warm up. And he's swinging the sword around. And I'm gonna cut him open in front of all these people. And now, like, he's dead serious. And he beelines to the curtain. He's going to run out through Gorilla with the sword and this weird sports bra to attack Rikishi, and then his brother has to tackle him. Going, Mike, no, Mike, no, Mike, no. And we're standing there going, we just almost witnessed like a man try to murder a giant
attempted
samurai
murder
with a samurai sword in front of 20, 30, 40 families.
Oh my God.
So and the show went on.
Oh my. I say let's go out on top of that one. Let's go to break. We'll be right back with more cards subject to change.
Ever need a doctor after hours? Well, searching won't help. But what do? You could go to the urgent care or ER, but if only there was a better way. Introducing the MNO Plus card. No waiting rooms, no copay, no consultation fee, giving you 24/7 access to a doctor by phone or online. It's easy to get started with affordable plans starting at $15 a month for a family of 5. For more information, visit mnoplus.com today.
Everyone's story is different, so why be limited to just one or two options? With Norcom's Norflex Home Loan, you're given the flexibility to tell your story. Pick your terms from 8 to 30 years, all while maintaining a low, fixed mortgage rate. You can pay off your loan more quickly or choose a term based on your budget and timeline. Whatever you do with the Norflex Home Loan, make it part of your financial plan. Norflex. Short-term, long-term, your terms. Apply online at norcommortgage.com.
Enjoy tranquil seclusion in an eco-lover's paradise. Paddling through the mangroves where the only sounds you'll hear are the sounds of nature. Because you deserve to relax on vacation, visit Pasco County, Florida.
All right, welcome back to Card Subject to Change. Now you were talking about all this this Bucci stuff. I really want to see where this took you. Do you have any stories there?
Practice my spotted trunk rotations for a little while. That's how you warm up for a fight. But
Do I have to roll my shirt up too?
So yeah, you gotta go full sport.
That's range of motion.
Exactly. It's just the shirt inhibits you.
I hope I didn't mess the mic up.
Science. So
That's hard to do, man. I don't know how you do that.
Mics. We use mics where you can do trunk rotations.
All right, so you went to you followed around Mike Bucci as basically his best friend for a little while.
So I forced myself into being his best friend for a little while. Essentially, a bunch of us did, and in all seriousness, Mike Bucci was awesome. I mean, he literally put us in the right direction, told us what we needed to do to get where we wanted to be. He was one of the first people, at a higher level like that said, "Here's what you need to do to get this level." And we were working towards it. There was a few of us just trying to do everything every single show, and it really looked like it was picking up momentum. And then, such as business, Mike Bucci and WWE parted ways. And I remember that had happened fairly suddenly. And when I spoke to him about it, I just said, Mike, thank you for everything. What do I do now? Like, I am not asking you this as somebody that's in the talent relations position, because you're not anymore. As a friend of mine that I trust, what do I do now? Mm-hmm. And he said, I don't know, but if I were you, I would go to Florida. FCW had just opened. I'll call Dr. Tom and let him know that you're coming. I don't know what that will lead to, but show up, see what happens. So that's what I did. So my wife, my girlfriend at the time, and we packed up, and with one of my best friends in the business, or actually my best friend, Jared Ganem, who'll come back into the story later with Paragon and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But we jumped in the car and we literally drove from Providence, Rhode Island, down to Tampa, Florida. It's literally like it's on the whim. Nobody thought we were going. We didn't tell anybody. We just decided. We drove by our good friend, one of our assistant coaches, Sean St. Ange, Chris Venom. Drove by. He lived right off of 95. We pulled over at Sean's house. Me and Jared knocked on his door. He said, "Hey, what's up, guys?" And we literally kicked his door open, ran in, stole his toaster, and said, "We're moving to Florida forever." And then we left. Didn't see him again for 8 years. 8 years later, I went up to visit, brought him back his toaster.
Oh, that's awesome.
Regardless. Went down to Tampa, and we pulled in. We dropped off some stuff. We didn't have a lot of things. Dropped off some stuff at the apartment that we just signed the lease for. We drove to FCW, and we were knocking on the front door, and just knocking, like literally. It's not a public place where you can walk into. It was WWE Developmental.
It's just basically a warehouse.
Essentially.
I think it was a little mattress warehouse or something.
We're knocking, and eventually Drew McIntyre and Brett DiBiase, who were under contract at the time, come walking out. They're like, "You guys looking for somebody?" And we're like, Dr. Tom? And they're just like, "Well, he's back here if you want to go in." And we're like, "Okay." So we
you can't turn back now.
Exactly. So I guess that's what we're looking for. So those guys were cool enough to walk us back there, and basically they just walked us right in. They said, "Hey, Dr. Tom, these guys are looking for you." And of course, like we had been doing the indie wrestler thing, and even though Bucci had called on our behalf, we were sending down. This is a good date. We do tapes, DVDs. And
hard copy media.
VHSs.
Yeah.
Wow.
VHSs. Things in like folders.
I want to see these 8x10s from what year is this?
It sounds like 1967 from the sounds of it. But
this is like 2000.
This is
8?
9? 2007, 2008 probably. And luckily, he had at least seen the incredibly crappy 8x10s that we sent because he knew who we were. And he goes, "Oh, yeah, Mike Bucci called me about you guys. Yeah, let's work something out." And the long and short of it was Steve had a night class. Steve Kern had a night class if you were not under contract. And we kind of took the night class, but, we'd been around for a little bit, so we kind of helped out when Steve was teaching the new kids hip tosses. We'd come in and take hip tosses and do all that stuff so we didn't have to do it. And then occasionally we get to go in and train with the guys under contract during the day. And we went to every single show. This is a time where not a lot of people are doing that, which is weird because in OVW, everybody without a job was trying everything to get a job because OVW had been established. FCW was new, so there's nobody doing that. So we were the only two guys not under contract. setting up rings, driving to all the shows, not getting paid, just trying to get a spot in a battle royal and everything like that. And this is how we started networking with John Laurinaitis, because he'd come to the shows and we'd introduce ourselves, and it wasn't like an overnight thing, man. It was like months and months and months of, you're doing the right thing, kid. You're doing the right thing, kid. You're doing the right thing, kid. And we just kept doing that, and it took a couple years. And honestly, and so I was like $170 at the time. Like I wasn't a big guy. Like I didn't get as big as I am now until after I got released. So it's just like I was going on passion and work ethic, was just trying to do whatever I could, and eventually it paid off, because what happens was, again, nobody was doing me any favors. Just because I got to network and because I was busting my ass, I got to go be an extra at TV, like hundreds of other people get to do every week or every month or however you want to look at it.
But you were there, you were around, you were in front of them, and that's the main goal.
Exactly. And then it just, it got to the point where I was getting sick of it, and I became the guy, and I don't know if this is going to work now, so if you're watching this, you're trying to get signed, don't do it and say I told you to, because it might be the wrong thing to do. But I would go to the talent relations door every time I checked in. I would knock on the door and I would say, hey, at the time it was Ty Bailey, John Laurinaitis. Do you have a minute? No. I'll be out here till you do. All right. I'd wait there for 2 or 3 hours. Eventually, open the door, they come in. If I had a dark match that night, and I've had a few, it's nothing special. You go enough, you're going to get one. And, if I had one, they'd go over it and maybe give me some advice. And if I didn't, what do I do? What do you want to see next time? That was always my question. What do you want to see next time? Sometimes it was a ton of stuff. Sometimes I did terrible in like a tryout in the ring or something like that. And, you need to work on this and this, and I would. Sometimes there was nothing wrong. So it'd be, get bigger. Okay. So no matter what you tell me, I'm going to do it. So eventually, I was in Jacksonville, Florida, and this was after doing this for a couple of years, and I knocked on the door again. By this time, they expected it. Like, hey, Drew, I'll meet you in catering in an hour. Okay, cool. So I went to catering. Just at this point, I didn't care. I wasn't like, I'm going to have one piece of lettuce. I'm having burgers and chips. And,
what do I have to lose? They're just going to tell me to come back in 2 months anyways.
It's
free food.
Freaking delicious,
free
man.
Food, man.
If you've never been an extra at WWE, that catering is top notch.
That's what I heard. I heard about the cereal bar.
Don't say they got everything.
That's why people work up to be extras in WWE.
Don't take Undertaker's Pop-Tarts, but if there's food there and it's not claimed, eat it. It's friggin' great. But I sat there, and then finally Ty sat down. He goes, "So what's up, Drew?" And my whole thing. My exact quote was, "What the f do I have to do to get a job? Every time I ask you what I need to do, you tell me and I do it." And he was, "Okay, go cut a promo for Brawler in the pre-tape room, and if he tells me that it was good, I'll sign you."
Oh, no pressure at all whatsoever. Good Lord.
I mean, well, luckily, my whole thing was when I broke in, when I was 19 years old, I knew nothing about working out, so I looked like garbage. I was not a natural athlete, so I would lock up with somebody, and it would look like a weird, like a Honda Civic crashing into
spaghetti arms?
Wall made out of spaghetti. Yeah, I don't even know how to describe it.
It's a hell of a visual.
But the one thing I always had is I was always a wrestling fan, so I always kind of knew the cadence and flow of wrestling TV, and I understood that you had to be charismatic. I understood to get something across. So I could always talk. I could always emote. I could always, facial expressions, stuff like that. So, and of course, I knew I had a 4-hour drive to Jacksonville. If you'd think I didn't have 50 promos on, auto fire, I mean, what the hell, And if you didn't, and you're going into that position, you don't deserve a job.
So you cut them while you're driving, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
Listen here, Honda Civic.
It's like,
you want to cut me off?
Somebody's, passing me in traffic and stuff, and I'm just, trying this whole range of weird facial expressions at the guy, and it's
So you're in the mirror, going back and forth, looking at the road and making facial expressions?
And of course, I'm pretty sure at the time, my wife might be in the passenger seat just reading her Kindle, and I'm just flipping out, and I look like the weirdest abusive husband ever, and she just doesn't care. And
she's just used to it. She knows.
Pretty much. She's in it all the time. But and long story short, I ended up getting a contract. I ended up going to FCW at the time. As I got in, within days, they basically announced FCW was done. Now we're NXT, which was cool. I mean, it was a little bit of a bigger field, but then the issue was all these guys that I established a working relationship with, the Steve Kearns of the world, were getting
he was gone, right?
Out, and then the new team was kind of coming in. I still knew Norman was still a great help to me, and a lot of the guys that were there, and but a lot of the guys that were there when we first got there, Drew and Brett letting us in, guys like Sin Bodhi that I get to work with now at Paragon Pro Wrestling, one of the best human beings in the business you'll ever meet, who would go out of his way to just kind of with me and Jared, just be here's what you need to do, here's what you're doing right, here's what you're not doing right. A lot of those guys had already moved on and were either not with the company anymore or on the road full time. it was kind of like starting new when I got in there, which is fair. Everybody was starting new. Nobody had the edge coming in really.
Yeah.
So I put some time in there, and it was cool. It was a good experience. Learned a lot. But.
So let's fast forward. You mentioned Paragon Pro Wrestling. Let's fast forward to that. That's what you're doing now. It's a national television product. Tell us about Paragon Pro Wrestling and what you're doing there.
Paragon, honestly, again, I hate to use cliches, but like I'm tempted to say something like the breath of fresh air, like the business really wants and stuff like that. If that can convey what I'm trying to get across with it. Paragon is weird because we talked about Jared before, somebody that like I broke in with and I was on the road with, and somebody that really got pro wrestling. He's one of the guys that's a contributing mind to this company, and a lot of these guys, the promoter Jeff Manning, Jeff Aiken, and then the guys behind the scenes, your D'Los, Sinbodi, like a lot of these guys that are putting this stuff together, Grappler, G3, like you have so many minds that are just coming together, Matt Stryker, and just guys that are still there, they're helping by in passing and whatnot. You get this collaboration of some of the best minds in pro wrestling, honestly, and some of the most underrated minds in pro wrestling. And then you get this vehicle where you can actually produce it, and you have Fight Sports HD producing the show. The production, honest to God, I mean, I don't want to sound like a plugging machine, but like download the Fight app and just watch it. It's honestly
it's impressive.
The Fight TV app on any smartphone. Just download that and just watch it, because I mean, you're looking at production values that literally, like I'm gonna just go and say it rivals WWE. It honestly does.
This is based out of Las Vegas. This is where they film everything.
Vegas, Nevada. Yep.
Okay.
Wrestling, it's not a bingo hall with bad cameras and whatnot. You're looking at a company that literally has a production budget like in the high six figures, if not seven figures. It's running out of Sam's Town Casino in Las Vegas. We have talent from all over the country that's literally handpicked to be there. Yeah. I mean, make no mistakes about it. Like, if you want to talk about a big three, there's contendership in here for that big three position, if not for like a number two position. I'm not going to come out here and say we're WWE, because we're not.
I hate to cut you off at that point, but where can we find Paragon Pro Wrestling to watch it at this point?
Honestly, Fight TV app.
The Fight TV, that's FITE.
Yes.
And you'd find that Google, Android,
just look it
iOS.
Up in the App Store, download that. Like, go to just search Paragon Pro Wrestling. So Paragon PW, everything like that.
Google.
I mean, the show's free. You can find it on the Fight app. It's amazing. YouTube, Paragon Pro Wrestling. Paragon Pro Wrestling channel on YouTube is launching a free YouTube channel as well with free weekly content. There's going to be a TV show on YouTube, and that's going to promote the Fight.
And I've been
TV
seeing
show.
a lot of that stuff come up.
There's matches everywhere now. You're getting full like pay-per-view quality matches on there for free, and you get to see all this stuff. I mean, I can't do justice the way the show is produced. I'm not saying I'm going on there and having 5-star matches, go watch my work rate and all that stuff. I mean, yeah, watch my matches. I'm sure they're cool, but like the show itself, the way the flow is, the characters in the show, like it's TV.
It's incredible. I mean, it's incredibly creative. I've seen some of it.
We watch wrestling because we want moments. You know
Yes.
what I mean? We want cool stuff that makes us feel things. That's what this is. This isn't just 10 matches where each match is trying to out high spot the other match.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's cool matches. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. There's a bunch of different stuff you can watch. Check out Paragon Pro Wrestling on the Fight TV app, their YouTube channel. Thank you, Drew Donovan, for joining us this week, being our first guest. And thank you, Ray. Thank you to me. Thank you very much to WeBeam TV. And we will see you guys next week.
Did you really just thank yourself?
Yes, I did.
All right.
What a jerk.